This is the second half, part B, of the video, a small interstellar craft software application. Video 1A. In this video, I reveal more about the angels, involving the 6-pointed stars, and the order to repent, or they would be cast out into the lake of fire, which is the large red horse, that is to say, the outer red disk, in every soul. So, here are the rest of the writings I was referring to in the Revelation of Saint John the Divine, also referred to by the Church of England, the Anglican Church, a breakaway denomination of the Church of Rome, referring to their King James Version of the Roman Church Bible, in the Revelation of Jesus Christ, chapter 2, continuing with verse 3, where the angels, the 6-pointed stars, are being ordered to repent and change, quote, and have persevered, and hast patience, and for my name's sake, hast labored, and hast not become weary. And in verse 4, nevertheless I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love. In verse 5, remember therefore, from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent. In verse 6, but this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. In verse 7, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the assemblies. To him that overcometh, will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. In verse 8, and unto the angel of the assembly in Smyrna, write. These things saith the first, and the last, which was dead, and is alive. In verse 9, I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Note, a Jew is not any species, nor of the human species, but are octagonal registers, within the processing system of life. Satan involves the Adam species, referred to as the human species today, as the Adam species stole the title of the soul, which is man, and replaced the title of Adam to man, which is gross evil. In verse 10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. In verse 11, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the assemblies, he that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. In verse 12, and to the angel of the assembly in Pergamos, write, these things saith he, which hath the sharp double-edged sword. In verse 13, I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's throne is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days, wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. In verse 14, but I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. Note, the land of Israel on earth is named after Israel, in the processing system of life. In verse 15, so hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which thing I hate. In verse 16, repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. In verse 17, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the assemblies. To him that overcometh, will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth saving he that receiveth it. Note, the white stone is a video interface, involving the round register forming your field of vision, involving the experience. Now, back to the first book of Moses, called Genesis, again. In verse 26, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." The words us and our, in this verse, refers to the word God, and the life of God, which is the light of man, in the soul, and not the Adam species. In verse 26, continued, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Note, God is referring to the soul, barbelo, involving man and woman, and not the Adam species. God made man, the soul, in the image of God, and not the Adam species, who was formed from the dust of the ground. The Adam species is just that, a species, or a beast of the field. While man and woman involve the soul, barbelo. The title, man, refers to the inner contents, while the title, woman, refers to the outer form of the soul, barbelo. In verse 27, so God created man, in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female, created he them. The words male and female affirm the inner and outer components of the soul construct. Note also the difference between the two groups of titles. In the Adam species, the word Eve is obviously spelled totally different than Adam, and does not contain any part of the title of Adam. What joined them as one, originally, was a rib of Adam, making them genetically compatible. But in the case of the soul, both the titles of the woman and the title of man contain the word man, unlike that of the Adam species. The title Adam refers to the 666 book. Shown in this chart, how the word Adam was formed, and where it came from. Before displaying the small interstellar craft software application, here is a little about the true nature of light. Light is not electromagnetic radiation, as scientists try to convince both themselves and you. But in reality, light is a transfer media, having zero velocity, and not the velocity of light, human scientists claim. The conclusions by human scientists are founded on misinterpretations, caused by the presence of double logic in the human species. Here is a photo of white light appearing through a prism, unaffected by the prism itself, and the presence of colors, introduced by the two edges of a slit which has been opened up, or the gap made wider. Note, from one edge there is yellow to red, and the other edge blue to violet. Notice the white light in between and the absence of green. When a narrow slit is used, the yellow and blue merge a little, producing the green. Here is a drawing revealing what human scientists believe is correct in their understandings. So, the data from the two edges of the slit is transferred through the light media, remembering that in reality, depth in the environment is just a beautiful illusion, and the images are on a two-dimensional disk in front of you. The same applies to what you believe to be a massive multi-dimensional universe. The contents of planets etc. come from out of the black, which stores the data or experience, like that of a two-dimensional library. Here is a short animation presenting this phenomena. So, now, here is the small interstellar craft software app as promised. The cabin area is presented as a cross-sectional drawing, allowing you to see the interior of the craft and its components. Note the video interface in the center, with teleport systems either side of the video interface, which I will explain more about in my next video. Below the video interface is a narrow keyboard. Stare at the video interface in the center of the craft, showing the approach to Jupiter, passing through the upper atmosphere, down to the surface of Jupiter. Watch the images that appear in the video interface, and you will be shocked with what you see. Yes. There are buildings on the surface of Jupiter, rivers, lakes, hills, and huge mountains, deserts, bush, grass, and huge oceans, as well as cities, of which they appear obviously much different, or alien in appearance, to that of the Earth. You will even see human-like species, who have a copper-colored skin, and reddish hair, as well as their transport systems, both on the ground, as well as in the atmosphere. When you get proficient in seeing the images of Jupiter, you will find you can manipulate the images, as though flying the craft, enabling you to use a feedback loop, involving thought, to maneuver the craft forward, backward, and rotate it by scrolling the image seen in the video interface using your mind, inside the craft. Please give feedback about this application. If you are unable to see the images of the environment on Jupiter, then you may have to be further away from your screen when observing. If using a PC, you will need to be observing at least 1.5 meters back from your screen. It is best watched either in a dark room, or avoid direct sunlight or light on your screen, other than the light your screen produces. Turn the brightness up to full, and just gaze through the screen, without expecting anything, as though daydreaming. All comments are welcome.